He kicked hard towards the unicorn. I bet 50 people. I'll place a bet too. The unicorn will kill 100 people before the rescue team arrives. With a swoosh, Zilong dashed out from the crowd. I've already awakened the children. In everyone's shock, in fearful eyes, several unicorns slowly crawled out of the truck. Who was that just now? But I still want to keep watching the show. On the other end of the phone, they said the adventurers will act within minutes. I'm confident I won't get caught. Alright, I got it. You don't need to worry about that. Recording the accident scene while complaining about drunk driving in broad daylight. Meanwhile, on the rooftop next to the truck accident, the mysterious woman said on the phone, "Now they want me to go back." A loud booming sound interrupted their conversation. People in the internet cafe were discussing, what was that just now? An earthquake? But Zilong was puzzled, it didn't sound like one. Was it an explosion? At this moment, a passerby outside the internet cafe took out his phone. I didn't expect that we were the same age. It's because you look tall, and you have a big build. Where do you go to school? Before Taijin could respond, step on the gas if you don't want to die. Meanwhile, the internet cafe on the other side was amazing. The takeout arrived just as the game ended. Isn't it delicious? This place makes good fried sauce noodles. Just then, the car door suddenly opened. Sun Changyu trembled as he looked at a mysterious woman beside him. She looked at him coldly. What are you still dawdling for? No matter what happens, as long as the captain is here, it should be fine, right? After all, if he isn't injured, he's still a top contender. You report to the center first. Tell them we need to stop for repairs. Chao Yana closed the car door. She drew a short knife. Sun Changyu quickly reported the situation to the center. Suddenly, there was a loud boom. Sun Changyu stopped the car. He felt a bit confused. Could it be that the monster escaped from the trunk? Chao Yana slowly unbuckled her seatbelt. How is that possible? Why did you come here in the first place? Wasn't it because you finally got your license, but didn't have the strength to build a decent team? You didn't have to be so direct. It can just mumble a couple of times. I always feel the reality in moments like this. Everyone else is getting rich by catching monsters. Meanwhile, I'm here driving with a meager salary. You're at it again. If you're unhappy, just quit and go active. Because those places were used as buffer zones for monsters escaping the quarantine walls. However, in the past 20 years or so, the monsters have been unable to breach the quarantine walls on their own. Meanwhile, in a special truck transporting small monsters, ruins, referred to as scars, have appeared with additional phenomena in various corners of the city center. The entire terrain was destroyed at that time. As time passed, most areas have been repaired, but areas closer to the underground city have still been abandoned. Our ranks are about the same. Nice to meet you. Sorry, I don't have any friends online right now. If you want to play a match, want to team up, you can sit down around noon. Anyway, my friend hasn't arrived yet. After logging into the account, the gaming enthusiast Tai Chang immediately checked what games were available to play. At this moment, Zilong turned to ask if you also play Divine Demon's Realm. Just then, Tai Chang awkwardly greeted Zilong, saying that the spot was gone. One of the characteristics of credit is that you have to read the room even for things that shouldn't require it. It's a day off now. After that, the government ordered a ban on the hunting of angels. Now, the related props have naturally become priceless treasures. I originally planned to meet him at noon and then go to the black market at night. It's said to be one of the 3 great disasters of the Icarus Forest. The Butcher Tyrant. For decades, Angel has formed countless attack teams to hunt down Angel. But so far, they have not succeeded. The acquired accessories mostly consist of damaged scales and a small amount of blood. It's slippery and doesn't look like food. Let's have it appraised when we have time. Selling anything related to the lead and yellow wasp right now would be like committing suicide. The only thing that can be quickly turned into cash is this angel's blood. If I had known it would be like this, I wouldn't have gotten up at 9. Or I could have gone to the black market first. And why is this thing packed in a royal jelly box? I'm really curious about what's inside. Then, I took a sneaky glance at the iron wall. The foreigner speaks a country's language so well, but is visiting an internet cafe for the first time. But that being said, Chen Siluan really is something. If you have already joined, go to that machine to recharge. Finally, just choose a location to log in. Thank you, Zilong. It's a relief. You're welcome. Follow me. I'll tell you how to join. You don't have to fill out all of this. Just fill out the parts with the signal marker. Then click confirm to join. Not wanting to trouble others, he decided to give up. Just as I was getting ready to leave, Zilong, who happened to be passing by, smiled and said, this is where you recharge to join. You can do it over in the city. And ordering takeout while playing games was especially delicious. Curious, Tietjong decided to give it a try. But he ran into trouble while trying to sign up for a membership because he didn't know how to join. This is not his intention. He is simply too introverted and doesn't know how to strike up a conversation with his classmates. That day, while walking on the street, Tae-chang suddenly saw two people his age entering an internet cafe. This reminded him of something his mother once said. I used to go to KTV and internet cafes with friends often. He is the hope star with the best physique in the world. In the eyes of others, he is a strong and aloof wolf, causing everyone to keep their distance from him. No one dares to interact with him. Just then, a voice suddenly came in. Joining as a member isn't done like this. Zilong, passing by with a smile, said, "Come with me, I'll tell you how to join." Tietjong decided to go in and give it a try, but as soon as he entered, he was stumped. He didn't know how to become a member. To avoid causing trouble for others, he had to give up the idea of playing games. Two students of the same age as him walked into an internet cafe. This reminded Tietjong of something his mother had once said. Actually, Mom, I used to go to KTV and internet cafes often too, and ordering takeout while playing games was especially delicious. To experience it, as a result, after muddling through the first semester, he ended up being isolated by everyone. Now, his only hobby is walking alone on bustling streets. At this moment, a nearby conversation caught his attention. This made Tae-chang yearn for the culture and life of country A. Thus, Tae-chang relied on his outstanding abilities to gain special admission to Warrior University. But because he's too introverted and not very fluent in the Wei language, he didn't know how to interact with his classmates. After saying that, the two hurriedly fled. However, Tae-chang was a bit sad because his clothes were dirty. It reminded him of his mother taking care of him by his side. Tae-chang's mother, Yubin, was a renowned adventurer from country A who was active in places like X province. She often told Tae-chang stories about her memories of their hometown. They were completely taken aback by the iron wall's massive frame. What left the passerby dumbfounded was that the iron wall actually apologized. Seeing this, the passerby quickly waved their hand, indicating no need to apologize. It was his own fault for not watching where he was going that caused the accident. I feel that sometimes it's better than worrying. It would be better to give trust. 3 days later, Wednesday at 11:30 a.m., the iron wall accidentally knocked over a passerby's coffee while walking down the street. Just as the passerby turned to see who the careless person was, Chao Saya was a bit surprised to hear this. Jiang Zhenghua stood up because many times, children are different from how they appear. Although it's indeed necessary to worry for the students, even kids from other courses are too scared to approach him. You know, they're about to move up to second year. A person is always limited. Perhaps you shouldn't worry about this issue. He's not just a guy with a big frame. Honestly, I'm both worried and feel it's a shame. He clearly has the ability and qualifications to be the leader, but Tietjong himself doesn't socialize with other students at all. It's not just the students in the dungeon strategy class, but generally speaking, the one with the top practical skills is usually the faction leader, right? Even if the exam difficulty was reduced, it shouldn't have been won by a solo participant. There must be bonus points for competing alone. His country is known as Shitikyang. He is the hope of the world with the highest level of physique. He was also the top scorer in the second midterm exam. I never doubted Tietjong's ability. He's on par with the other two competitors. She is a girl who was evaluated as someone who can surpass the great magicians in the future. The third is a boy born from the union of a human and a dwarf. He inherited the dwarf's immense strength and endurance, as well as the human's agility and explosiveness. Dilabai Kaisen embodies the strengths of both races. He inherited the knowledge and talents of his adventurer father of the white rank, and the magic of his elven mother, a magic swordsman who fuses both. The second is Anisha Isk. Although she's mixed blood, but he possesses exceptional magic and magical talent that even pure bloodlines cannot rival. Hard to predict. Is this for real? Chen Siloan looked at the exam results in shock. Right now, there are 3 first-year students at Warrior High School called geniuses, and all 3 of them are mixed blood. The first is Diabutre. This is really beyond all my expectations. The student's level is completely incomparable to our school days. Did you expect that? This time, the first place turned out to be that kid. This result is indeed It's okay. After all, it's your first year as a class teacher, and I also need to carefully review the first-year students' grades. Chao Saya closed the notebook with a snap. He let out a long sigh. At this moment, in the office of the Warrior High School Dungeon Strategy class teacher of grade 1, class 2, Chao Saya, turned her head and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Jiang. it's all my fault. I caused you to not be able to rest properly this weekend. But Jiang Jinghua didn't seem to mind much. Wait a minute, Chen Siren suddenly noticed something odd. Wasn't Lu Chang retired due to injury? What does this mean? Na is Yulong's father. Suddenly, an exam score report interrupted Chen Siren's thoughts. After all, people outside had no idea what happened inside the dungeon. And there's also that famous incident with the fake Dragonslayer, Lu Chang. Although he's incredibly skilled and the best adventurer in Country A, it was revealed that his achievements were gained by fraud and intimidation, taking credit for others' work. Then the 5 adventurers, now hailed as legends from the Pioneer Assault Squad, stole someone else's credit. It's hard to believe, but Allardyce has no reason to lie. And the strength Zilong has shown is enough to prove how exceptional his father was. Things like this must have happened a lot before. I'm leaving first. You don't need to drive me. Sitting in the car, Chen Siluan looked at the summary about Allardyce on his phone. This was the history he had learned. But if what Allardyce said today is true, the kill operation was actually all thanks to him to be successful. So, is he now in retirement and hospitalized? Lu Zilong felt a bit speechless upon hearing this. He turned and waved goodbye. He expressed that it was fine. I don't mind. Just then, Chen Siluan suddenly called out to him. Feeling a bit shy, he said, "Your father is really impressive." Chen Siren glanced at the time and asked, "Are you free this Wednesday, on the day off? If possible, we should get ready for the written exam." Lu Zilong sighed when he heard this. Until he atones for his sins through forging, he's not allowed to leave the underground forge, not even a step. After handing the staff to Argus, Lu Zilong and Chen Siren left the institute. As they walked down the road, his life no longer belonged to him, so he decisively chose to surrender to humans. Since no one died in the battle, he was granted civil rights. But after all, he was still a criminal monster. Yet today it was defeated by a man. But the man chose not to kill it. Instead, he severed one of his arms. At the moment of failure, Argus already understood. The unicorn will kill 100 people before the rescue team arrives. With a swoosh, Zilong dashed out from the crowd and kicked fiercely at the beast. It's a 7-star monster that unsettles the whole world. The branch-horned beast slowly crawled out of the truck. Who was that just now? Betting on 50 people. I'll take a gamble too. I'm confident I won't get caught. Okay, I understand that matter. You don't need to worry. I have already awakened the children. In the terrified eyes of the crowd. At the same time, on the rooftop next to the truck accident, a mysterious woman said on the phone, "Now let me go back. But I still want to keep watching the show." The person on the other end said the adventurer would move out in a few minutes. An earthquake? Zilong wondered. It didn't sound like it. Was it an explosion? At this moment, a passerby outside the cafe took out their phone while recording the accident scene. He complained about drinking and driving in broad daylight. "Where do you go to school?" Before Iron Wall could respond, a loud rumbling sound interrupted their conversation. People in the internet cafe started talking. "What was that just now? Awesome, the takeout arrived just as the game ended. Tastes good, huh? This place makes great jajangmyeon, but I didn't expect we were the same age. You look taller. And bigger built too." Who stared at him coldly. "What are you standing there for? Step on the gas, unless you want to die." Meanwhile, back at the internet cafe, after all, if he hadn't been injured, he would have been a top contender. At that moment, the car door suddenly opened. Sun Changyu trembled as he looked at a mysterious woman nearby. She drew a short knife. Changyu's son hurriedly reported the situation to the center. "No matter what happens, as long as the captain is here, it should be fine, right?" Chao Yana slowly unfastened her seatbelt. "How is this possible?" "Report to the center first. Tell them we're stopping for maintenance." Then, Yana Chao closed the door. "Just grumble once or twice over there and be done." Suddenly, there was a loud crash. Sun Changyu stopped the car, a bit puzzled. Did the monster escape from the trunk? If you're dissatisfied, just quit and switch to active duty. Why did you come here in the first place? Wasn't it because you finally got your license? But you don't have the strength to form a good team. Do you really need to be that blunt? Every time at this moment, I feel the reality. Those from the same period can get rich by capturing monsters. Yet here I am, driving and earning a meager salary. You're at it again. Those places were used as buffer zones for monsters escaping the quarantine walls. However, in the past 20 years or so, monsters haven't been able to cross the walls on their own. Meanwhile, in a special truck transporting small and medium-sized monsters, in various corners of the city's central terrain, ruins known as scars have appeared with additional phenomena. At that time, the entire terrain was destroyed. As time passed, Most areas were restored, but the regions closer to the underground city were still abandoned. Our rankings are about the same. This is our first meeting. Sorry, I don't have any friends online right now. If you want to play a game, do you want to team up? You can sit down. Anyway, my friend hasn't arrived yet. After logging into the account, the gaming enthusiast Taijian immediately checked what games were available to play. At this point, Zilong turned and asked if you play in any particular field. But at that moment, Taijian awkwardly greeted Zilong, saying that there was no camera in that position. One of the characteristics. For things that don't require reading the room, one must still read the room. It's the middle of the day on a rest day, right? Afterward, the state ordered a ban on the hunt for Angel. As of now, items related to it have naturally become priceless treasures. I originally planned to meet him at noon and go to the black market in the evening. They say it's one of the 3 great disasters of Ikar Myron, the butcher's tyrant. Angel has formed countless attack squads over the past few decades to hunt down Angel, but so far, none have succeeded. The acquired remnants are mostly damaged scales and a small amount of blood. I'm curious about what's inside. It's smooth, doesn't seem edible. I'll get it appraised when I have time. Selling anything related to Lead Hornet now would be suicide. The only thing we can cash in immediately is this Angel's blood. Chen Siloan is really something. If I had known it would be like this, I wouldn't have gotten up at 9. Or I would have gone to the black market first. Also, why is this thing packed in a royal jelly box? She says you're welcome, then sneaked a glance at the iron wall. A foreigner speaks a country's language so well, yet it's their first time at an internet cafe. But speaking of which, then click confirm to join. If you have already joined, go to the machine we just used to recharge. Finally, just select the location and log in. Thank you, Zilong. Qingshu, 1 sip. That's handled in the city area. Come with me, I'll tell you how to join. You don't need to fill in all of these, just fill in the ones with the signal indicator, because he didn't know how to join. To avoid bothering others, he decided to let it go. As he was about to leave, Zilong, who happened to pass by, smiled and said, "You can top up and join here." This reminded him of something his mother once said: "I used to go to KTV and internet cafes with friends all the time, and ordering takeout while playing games was especially delicious." Curious, Tietjang decided to give it a try, but he encountered difficulties when trying to sign up for a membership, not daring to associate with him. And this is not his intention. He is just too introverted by nature. "I don't know how to start a conversation with my classmates." One day, while walking down the street, Tietjang suddenly saw 2 people his age entering an internet cafe. "I'll tell you how to join." He is the brightest star in the world with the highest level physique. In the eyes of others, he is a strong and proud wolf, so much so that everyone keeps their distance from him. To avoid bothering anyone, he decided to give up on playing games. Just then, a voice suddenly came: "That's not how you join as a member." Passing by, Zilong smiled and said, "Follow me." And ordering takeout while playing games was especially delicious. Just to experience it again, Tai Chong decided to give it a try. But as soon as he entered, he was stumped. He didn't know how to become a member. Just then, a conversation nearby caught his attention. 2 students, about his age, walked into an internet cafe. This reminded Tietjang of what his mother used to say: "Actually, Mom, I often used to go to KTV and internet cafes too." And his lack of proficiency in the language of country A, he didn't know how to interact with his classmates. As a result, after muddling through the first semester, he was completely isolated by everyone. His only hobby now was walking alone on the bustling streets. She often shared her memories of her hometown with Tai Chang. This also made Tai Chang develop a longing for the culture and life of country A. So, relying on his outstanding abilities, Tai Chang was specially admitted to study at Warrior High School. But because of his overly introverted personality, he said it was his own fault for not watching the road and bumping into him. After saying this, the 2 hurriedly fled the scene. However, Tai Chang felt a bit sad because his clothes got dirty. It reminded him of the times when his mother took care of him. Tai Chang's mother, Shi Yubin, was a famous adventurer from country A, active in places like X Prefecture. From a pedestrian's hand. Just as the pedestrian turned around to see who had bumped into them, they were directly stunned by the iron wall's massive figure. Tai Chang unexpectedly apologized first. Seeing this, the passerby quickly waved his hand, indicating no need to apologize. But I think sometimes, rather than worrying, it's better to give trust. 3 days later, on Wednesday at 11:30 a.m., the iron wall walking down the street accidentally knocked over a coffee. Ha! Chao Saya was a bit surprised. Jiang Jinghua stood up, because many times, kids are not what they seem on the surface. Although, you really should worry about the students. Not only the students in the dungeon strategy class, even kids from other courses are afraid of him and don't dare to approach. You know you're about to move up to second grade. There's always a limit to what one person can do. Maybe you shouldn't worry about this. He's not just a guy with a big physique. Honestly, I'm both worried and feel it's a pity. He clearly has the ability and qualifications to be the team leader, but Tai Chang himself doesn't interact with other classmates at all. But generally speaking, the top score in actual skills is usually held by the faction leader. No matter how much the exam difficulty is reduced, it shouldn't result in a single person winning the championship. There should be some extra points for competing solo, right? His name is Dilabakasan, embodying the strengths of both races, a country named Tietjiang. He is the hope star with the best physique in the world. He is also the top scorer in the second term exam. I have no doubt that Tietjiang's strength is on par with the other two. She possesses extraordinary magic power and talent that even purebloods cannot rival. She is regarded as a girl who could one day surpass the great mages. The third one is a boy born from the union of a human and a dwarf. He inherited the dwarf's immense strength and stamina, as well as the human's agility and explosiveness. The first is Diablo Trey. He inherited the insight and talent of his father, a white-rank adventurer, and the magic of his elven mother, a magic swordsman who blends both. The second one is Anissa Isuk. Though she is of mixed blood, this outcome was indeed hard to predict. Is this real? Chen Siron looked at the exam results in shock. Now, there are 3 first-year students at Warrior High who are called geniuses, and all 3 of them are mixed race. She let out a long sigh. It really exceeded all my expectations. The students' level is nothing like when we were in school. Did you expect that? The first place this time is actually that kid. However, Jiang Zhenghua didn't seem to care. It's alright. After all, this is your first year as a homeroom teacher. Besides, I also need to take a close look at the first graders' grades. Chao Saya closed the notebook with a snap. At this moment, in the office of the Dungeon Strategy course at Warrior University, the head teacher of Class 2, Year 1, Chao Saya, turned around and said, "I'm sorry, Teacher Jiang. It's all my fault. I made it so you couldn't rest well over the weekend." Wait a minute, Chen Siluan suddenly noticed something strange. Wasn't he retired due to injury? What does this mean? Nico Long's father. Suddenly, a test score report interrupted Chen Siluan's thoughts. After all, outsiders have no idea what happens inside the dungeon. And then there was the infamous incident regarding the false dragon slayer process. Although he was exceptionally talented, he was the best adventurer in Country A. However, it was revealed that he obtained his achievements through forgery and threats, stealing the credit from others. Then the 5 adventurers, now called legends, actually stole someone else's achievements. I can't believe it, but Algius has no reason to lie. Moreover, the strength Zilong has shown is enough to prove how exceptional his father was. There must have been many such incidents in the past. He turned around and waved goodbye. I'm leaving first. You don't need to drive me. Sitting in the car, Chen Siluan looked at the summary about Algius on his phone. This is the history I've learned. But if what Algius says is true today, Chen Siluan suddenly called out to him. He shyly said, "Your father is really impressive. The strangulation operation was actually successful because of him. So is he retired and in the hospital now?" Lu Zilong was speechless upon hearing this. If so, we should start preparing for the written exam. Upon hearing this, Zilong Lu sighed and said, "Sure, I don't mind." Just then, after handing the rod to Algius, Lu Zilong and Chen Siluan left the research institute. Walking down the road, Celine Chen glanced at the time and asked, "Are you free this Wednesday, our day off?" Considering that no one died because of this battle, he was also granted citizenship rights. But after all, he is a monster who committed a crime. Until he has redeemed his sins through forging, he cannot leave the underground forge even a step. But the man chose not to kill him. Instead, he brutally severed one of his arms. In that moment of defeat, Algius already understood that his life no longer belonged to him. So he decisively chose to surrender to humanity. And I'll help you complete this masterpiece, not for your father, but for you. He is a 7-star monster that makes the whole world uneasy. Yet now he has been defeated by a man. Although I don't know the specifics, it seems now that I won't be able to finish this weapon for him after all. But that shouldn't be too bad. Give me this unfinished product. I wanted to wait until everything was completed, but I don't know when it started. We lost contact. Because I can't go outside. I sent the completed parts to your father first. Lu Zilong was immediately startled upon hearing this. Allegas smiled and explained that the story was quite simple. You should understand by now, right? Would your father use an ordinary stick with nothing on it as a weapon? I initially planned to give it to your father after he found the producer's materials. It didn't have any special skills. That's why those creditors didn't take it from him. Allegas scratched his head awkwardly. Actually, that's kind of true. Just looking at it, it really is just a very hard and easy to swing rod, though he never asked for it. But he was a warrior worthy of my craftsmanship. Zilong looked at the iron rod in his hand, feeling somewhat confused. I had never heard him mention anything like that. I thought this rod was just hard. He accepted the obligation for technical cooperation. But was the success of capturing Algius really the work of one person? This is completely different from what I learned. Algius continued speaking to Zilong. This staff was personally made by me and given to your father. In the end, he was still granted citizenship rights, and that was all because no one died from it. But after all, he did commit a crime. They say he was exiled here after atoning for all the sins. Yet one of them, alleges, surrendered to the humans, choosing to be imprisoned here. This surprised Chen Siren a bit, even though he remembered learning about this major event. Even though alleges caused unrest around the world, in the end, this raid also failed to open up the attack squad. The rescue team succeeded, ending in this absurd yet miraculous conclusion. However, what happened afterward was truly unexpected. The spirit giants, apart from obeying their own race, would rather die than yield to inferior races. This monster, me, was already dead. At the moment the night failed, my life no longer belonged to me. It belonged to your father. But he didn't kill me. As the name suggests, it's the martial arts of a hero. But for humans, a hero ultimately killing a monster is a story you've probably heard often, right? At that time, with one strike from your heroic father. And that move just now was the original version of the Great Wave that Zilong later learned. It's a technique where the body absorbs the impact, then reverses it to counterattack. It requires the user's body strength, experience, and technique to be at an exceptionally high level. He gripped the iron rod with both hands, charged up, and swung it with force. With a loud clang, he blocked the attack. Alleges, somewhat surprised, said, "You didn't run away. Instead, you blocked it directly. This axe itself is quite inferior. No matter how much defiance you imbue into it, it has reached its limit. It's time to end this." But Lu Chang didn't give up. But the next second, Algius struck at him again with a sword. "Looking solely at your skills in receiving attacks, you are the best among all the humans I have seen. Compared to the others' equipment, was still a relatively unknown adventurer. By the standards of that time, he did not have the ability to possess the highest level equipment." Seeing that Jin Ing and the other three had safely left, Lu Chang also breathed a sigh of relief. He said coldly, "You are indeed stronger than the others. You know how to use the weapon in your hand. Unfortunately, if it could match half of your physical abilities, perhaps things would be different." At this point, Lu Chang, as Flo swung his axe down, Jin Ing Mo excitedly thought they had one. But the next second, he was stunned. Alleges looked at the crack on the armor on his chest. It was human technology, a completely new martial arts system, beyond existing common sense. At the time, only a few adventurers realized its necessity. Through repeated research and training, Flo was one of them. The techniques for crafting equipment using resources obtained in the dungeons also advanced rapidly. They were better suited to match their superhero physiques. However, the rapid progress of upgrade rewards and equipment prevented the adventurers from mastering how to effectively utilize these tools. Breaking this bottleneck was crucial. Even Jining Ma, who had retreated, was shocked by the loud noise. 10 years after the additional phenomenon, the adventurers encountered a bottleneck. The upgrade rewards gained through unleashing potential enhanced their physical abilities. This elevated them to the realm of superheroes. He swung his sword fiercely at Lu Chang, but Lu Chang gripped his battle axe tightly and swung it right back at him. With a bang, their attacks clashed directly. "Because without my permission, you cannot harm them in the slightest." Upon hearing this, Alleges' veins instantly bulged. "They're still alive," Alleges said coldly upon hearing this. "Take them upstairs. That sounds like you have a choice." "Of course we do. I can still cast some simple buffs." Before he could finish speaking, Lu Chang interrupted, "I don't need that kind of thing. You know levitation magic, right? Use your magic to bring those two people over their backup." At that moment, Lu Chang asked his mage friend, "Can you still use your magic?" Jining Mo was momentarily stunned. "What?" Although there's not much, one strike took down a 4-star danger level monster. The trembling Jining Ma opened his mouth wide. He couldn't believe it. A monster that required all their members to work together just to barely defeat was actually taken down by him in one hit. But he was once the brightest legend. They were the top-ranked dungeon raiding team in Country A, yet they suffered a crushing defeat in the dungeon of the Changling Giant, Argase. As they were falling into despair, a man suddenly appeared. Compared to fame and achievements, he had participated in more rescues, so he wasn't very famous. However, after that event, he began to be forgotten. Lu Chengqingshu exclaimed in one breath, "There's already so much up there. How much more is there here?" At that time, Lu Cheng was still an unknown adventurer. Although the first-generation adventurers should have heard of his name before the procedure could finish, an automatic humanoid giant struck at the procedure with a sword. With a loud crash, the elite said in surprise, "That's impressive, but it was still heavier than I expected." Alleges glanced at the procedure and scoffed, "Don't tell me you're here to save yourself. The only one who can penetrate here right away is me. A volunteer. I was actually wearing armor, but it was too inconvenient to run in, so I took it off. It was new." What was the initial encirclement record of that guy? Jining muttered in confusion. "Did the association receive your distress signal? An emergency team has been dispatched. I am just one of them." Suddenly, a breathless voice sounded. "Because the upper levels aren't accessible just because you want to go. As long as there is an unstable collection of information, a united and coordinated attack will not lead to any problems. I'm really quite impressed, but you're truly insignificant." Jining Ma knew. Even the captain couldn't defeat the monster. It was impossible to win with her magic alone. Then the dungeon above can't be such a remarkable place either. Suddenly, Alleges was slightly startled. The trembling Jining Ma slowly raised her staff. She stood in front of Park Young-won. Arjesh spoke calmly. "Are you defending the bare minimum of loyalty?" Alleges mocked directly. "What a useless fool. Whether it's your equipment or your body, everything is worthless. If, in this world, even something like that can call itself a master." Hoping to buy a little more time with this, Algius simply shot an arrow. It cut through a flame and struck Park Jongman. Then a scream rang out from the flames. Watching the figure slowly fall. In that moment, they all know there's an 80 to 90% chance they won't survive. Park Jongman hurriedly shouted to run. He raised his shield and charged at Algius. He concentrated all his strength for the attack. But the next second, after adjusting, their expressions suddenly changed. A voice came from behind the two. "What's going on? There are still some little bugs that haven't been cleared out." Said, "I told you, not everyone can make it out alive. Even with my firepower, I can't possibly defeat him, but it should buy you some time to escape. Maybe I can still win." In an instant, the automaton giant was blasted away. Seeing this, Kim Young-mo exclaimed in shock, "Chieftain! You unleashed a potential burst here?" Park Young-man, with a determined look. The potential burst allows one to unleash all abilities without reservation. It generates several times the usual strength. But once the burst of power ends, the entire body will be unable to move. Then Park Jongman used his technique, Shield Strike. "There's no way all of us can leave alive." Just then, the automaton giant swung its sword violently at the two. Park Jongman quickly unleashed his potential burst. He blocked the attack. Even if they use all their strength to defeat it, another one will still appear. Shin Sakura is completely terrified. Chief Park Youngman slowly said, "You should go. You know it too. The Happy Assault Team is a top-tier dungeon raid team. They rank first in performance." However, in the dungeon of the Changlin giant, Argase, the boiling hell led them to a crushing defeat. This automaton giant is already the 7th one they've encountered. Was that her attack felt like a mere scratch to the automaton giant? The automaton giant turned and handed Wu Xingya a shield. Jining Ingmo was trembling with fear, her face full of disbelief. None of this was expected by anyone. He barely withstood the blow. Wu Soma instantly darted behind the giant. With a swift slash, she struck the giant's face. But what Osoma didn't expect. Suddenly, the leader of the assault team, Park Jongman, shouted that he was coming. "Everyone, brace yourselves." A loud crash echoed. The giant's sword struck the shield. Park Youngman trembled all over. They encountered the automaton giant created by Alleges. It opened the output for the assault team. Wu Xingya hurriedly asked her teammates if they had contacted the main force yet. The support member of the assault team, Jining Mu, discovered that the communication magic had completely failed. It was as if something was blocking the signals. The Changling giants not only failed to coexist, they also considered humans unworthy of communication. 30 years ago, the then Exploration Assault Squad launched a siege. Alleges. The operation had just reached the entrance. Although they possess incredible strength solely based on their physical abilities, their true strength lies in crafting equipment. Every member of the tribe is born with the ability to craft prehistoric artifacts that possess special powers, and the only races in the world with this ability are the Changeling giants and the dwarves. But unlike the dwarves, who chose to live in harmony and coexist with humans, he single-handedly defeated the 7-star danger level Longhorn giant. The Longhorn giants are the most powerful among countless giant tribes. They are nearly immortal. Moreover, they are extremely rare. Fewer than 10 Longhorn giants have been discovered on Earth. He didn't. Instead, he cut off my arm. That's right, kid. That man was your father. He was the strongest adventurer in Country A. Arleguys interrupted directly. No, that's not right. That's what you humans think. Those guys' swords didn't even touch me. Only one person was hunting me, even though he could have killed me on the spot. Chen Siren asked curiously, what do you mean by qualification? Arleguy slowly reached out for a cigar and said, do you know why I'm willing to work for you humans? It's because 30 years ago, a team of elite adventurers led the charge and, before Chen Siren could finish, you really are worthy of having him. I owe you an apology. Arleguy looks at his own fingers. He whispered, is this a new injury? The last time I was injured was about 30 years ago. I am well aware of that. I just want to know why he has the weapons I made. Is that the reason? Jack interrupted my rest. Sorry, little guy. The rights of the involved party will be revoked, and they will be treated as a monster. Upon hearing this, Argace slowly loosened his hand and said, don't worry, you have no right to attack a human without reason. You clearly know that, unless you feel that you're in danger. The specially designated species cannot harm humans if the rule is violated. Chen Siren saw this and shouted, stop. Why are you doing this? I admit he's strange, but even so, that with his own attack power, if he wanted to exploit the opponent's weakness, he would have to use a needle to pierce its eye. Facing Zilong's assault, Allergus reached out and grabbed Zilong in his hand. You might still be able to change the direction of the power. This is Zilong's third tactic. Chen Siluan gaped in disbelief. He couldn't believe he actually blocked an attack from the 7-star monster. And Zilong knew, in a direct confrontation, the Saint would undoubtedly be the stronger side. But what if it's not a direct clash? Once you find the right angle and position, even if you can't win, then there's only the third option left. The last move he secretly learned from his father, Lu Chang. At the moment of the attack, when it touches, a powerful surge of energy erupted instantly, and the law of power is very fair. It can't thread a needle. His palm, when he strikes down, has no weaknesses at all. A giant wave, don't even mention reversing it. Using strength, the moment you touch it, you will lose your life. And said, then I'll make the decision myself. In that instant, what flashed through Zilong's mind was death. Perhaps it was impossible from the start. Which move should I counter with? I just don't think. You need to know. Chen Siren shouted urgently, you idiot. Hurry up and say something. Allergus struck at Zilong with a palm. This weapon isn't something a smuggler could obtain legally. Could it be that he stole or robbed someone? Zilong suddenly grinned. He said, what if I don't want to tell you? No. If this weapon was personally made by Allergus, then its grade is at least A+. Furthermore, when the production department makes a weapon, they will also input it into the association's database to strictly control the whereabouts of the items and who has them. In other words, Allergus stomped his foot on the ground. I'll ask you again. Why is the weapon I made not with its original owner, but in your hands? Chen Siluan became even more panicked upon hearing this, suddenly mentioning a weapon. Allergus pointed at Zilong's egg and said, I advise you to answer cautiously, because that weapon was made by me. With a clang. Hey, didn't you hear me? I asked you where you got that weapon. Chen Siren covered her mouth with both hands, too afraid to speak, because he knows that Allergus used to be a monster with a danger level of 7 stars. Zilong also pretended to be calm and said, it seems that this hit hurts more than you expected. It's almost impossible to fight against it with modern weapons. Even if you succeed in eliminating it, it would require a massive amount of firepower, and it would also result in heavy losses. That's why an elite team of adventurers is needed to hunt down the monster. Their job is to minimize the destruction caused by the creature. Focus on evacuating civilians to safety. Once people are swiftly relocated, use long-range artillery and airstrikes to eliminate the monster. However, the military can only handle monsters up to a 4-star danger level. When a 5-star level monster appears, when facing a monster with a danger level of 3 stars, mechanized infantry operating tanks can be sent to confront it. When the danger level reaches 4 stars, it can cause mass casualties. So ground troops should be avoided as much as possible. It is still enough to kill a human. However, a 1-star danger level monster can be subdued by an ordinary adult male wielding a weapon. A monster with a danger level of 2 stars requires trained armed infantry to deal with it. At this moment, Chen Siren muttered softly, a bit at a loss, this idiot actually caused trouble. However, what made Chen Siren panic was for another reason. The danger level of the monsters is indicated by the number of stars. Even if a monster's danger level is 1 star, although there are many monsters he cannot take down with a single blow. But Zilong felt that the opponent just now was like a towering mountain, not like fighting a creature at all. This raised a doubt in Zilong's heart. What kind of monster is he? Just now, Zilong unleashed a powerful strike, yet it caused no damage to Algius. He panicked. He had clearly hit the target accurately. He decisively used the needle-piercing technique. Unable to believe it, Zilong also looked astonished. The unharmed Algius coldly asked, "Where did you get this weapon?" He was once a monster with a danger level of 7 stars, and a monster with a danger level of 5 stars can easily destroy a human city. Zilong has drawn his weapon and is ready to fight. In the next moment, he charged towards Algius. He executed a thrust directly at Algius's jaw. With a loud crack, Chen Siluan, witnessing this, covered his mouth with both hands. "In your eyes, I see a familiar hunting look," accompanied by a hint of killing intent. Zilong just grinned and laughed. Then he slowly opened his backpack. Chen Siluan, who was beside him, was just about to speak up to stop him. "Though I don't understand humans, this is quite normal for our kind. After all, I can't sweat and forge weapons for those warriors whose skills can't be verified. Since we first met, I felt that you were different from the ordinary youngsters." Or his niece? "Since Jack made me do it personally, I'll confirm it myself. Kid, take your weapon and try to hunt me down, whether it's the head of the production department or a monster. For you humans, both terms are correct." Who is this person Jack is talking about? Is it this neurotic brat? Zilong was confused. The monster Chen Siren hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. He said that this person is the head of the production department. Algius sat down heavily. He laughed and said he's right. Zilong instinctively stepped back. He only heard the other person slowly say, "Jack, that guy. I finally get a weekend to sleep in, but he woke me up. And he didn't even come himself. You can't just enter here because you have money." Zilong was too shocked to speak. Suddenly, a loud rumble interrupted him. A giant figure slowly stood up behind them. An eye suddenly opened wide. So Chen Siluan and Lu Zilong chatted casually, while taking the elevator to the underground forge of the Chen Shang Group Research Institute. The place used to be a boiling hell in the underground city. Chen Siluan looked at Zilong with a playful expression. He asked, "What do you think?" "The director said he'll help you with all that. I've said everything I needed to. Now you can go to the underground training ground and prepare well. I'll be cheering for you. Make sure to become my junior, okay? Or they'll sign you as a model for ads. They'll sponsor your tuition under various conditions." But the entrance exam for Warrior High is much harder than for regular schools. It's not just about the equipment. Everyone will prepare as much as they can. You can also get great equipment. Once you get into the Warriors High School, from corporations to the wealthy, they'll all come to you with money, saying it's part of your future earnings. Zheng Meimin acknowledged. She really nodded. She replied, "It can indeed be viewed that way, but even without money, if you're capable." So, all the equipment at Warrior High School is prepared by the students themselves. Zilong looked at Chen Siluan and said, "It's not just about ability. Doesn't that favor the rich second generation even more? If having money is also a form of ability, then I have nothing to say." Zhang Meimin, a graduate of Warrior High School, quickly waved her hand and said, "That's not because we lack money, but because our school is different. Everyone's talents and abilities are certainly varied, but good equipment is also considered part of one's ability." This left both Zhang Meimin and Chen Siluan speechless. Chen Siluan could only helplessly explain that if it were an ordinary adventurer training school, it would be like that. The school distributes standardized supplies to eliminate equipment disparities among students. Zilong was puzzled. Isn't Warrior High School like that? Your school seems pretty well off, but is it necessary to be equipped? It left Chen Siluan with a puzzled expression. What do you mean by that? Zilong said seriously that the Warrior Academy is a school. Shouldn't the equipment needed be provided uniformly by the school? If they don't have matching weapons, they won't last long in battle. So, as adventurers grow stronger, they will increasingly choose better equipment to fully utilize their skills. Zilong scratched his head, indicating that he already knew all this. Right after the test ends, Jack asked Zheng Meimin to take him to the equipment production department to make some handy gear once Zilong wakes up. Hearing this, Chen Siluan looked incredulous, because high-performance weapons and defense tools allow adventurers to feel more secure. Even if an adventurer's own strength is outstanding, no need to worry about the money. Make a handy weapon for this guy. He is a long-lived giant, one of the most powerful races in the world, a special planner from Country A, and also the head of the Qin Sheng Group's production tribe. Chen Siluan was instantly shocked. What did you say? He said it right before he left. When that guy wakes up, he'll take him to the equipment manufacturing department. Tell the section chief that it's his guest. Shouldn't we check out the production class? Chen Siluan replied, but I don't know anyone there, and uncle can't possibly agree. Zhang Meimin laughed. What are you talking about? The director has already agreed. I just don't quite understand. Compared to someone I know, I still have many shortcomings. At this, Zhang Meimin said to the two of them, it's rare for me to come to the center. Although these are all cliches, many adventurers have made up for their shortcomings in ability level through relentless effort. Zilong stood up and said, thank you for your words. I'm not disappointed with the result. Even if your ability level reaches A, if you don't improve yourself through training, it's no different from D. There are also other factors. Things like intuition and experience can't be measured. Suddenly, Zhang Meimin said to Zilong, let me tell you another piece of news. The director you just faced, his three main abilities haven't even reached a level, because ability values only measure a person's potential, not actual capability. But his strength is B, while the other two values are A. Then what does balance matter? The absolute value is enough to leave people speechless. Such results are already the best among all first-year students. That is already rare. They would be qualified to become a key combat member. If all three main attributes reach B level, it's 1 in 500,000. Just by this condition, one can be recognized as a top-tier adventurer. Chen Siren explained that normal people usually have one stat above C, but if you have two, it's different. Strength, stamina, agility. If all three main attributes reach C, usually, only those with a skill level of B or higher can become top-tier adventurers. But the stats need to be balanced. If only agility is high, but stamina can't keep up, then it's useless. Hearing this, Chen Siluan next to him felt like killing him. Enough, you madman. Zhang Meimin felt a bit awkward. She wondered inwardly, is he really just a test taker? The test results are out. She handed him the test sheet. Zilong and Chen Siren both looked at it at the same time. Chen Siluan said happily, the result is not bad. Zilong replied indifferently, you call this good? Zilong is shocked. He's a healer, with such amazing power, yet healing isn't his main skill. Zhang Meimin continued, anyway, it's good you're okay. At this moment, Zhang Meimin pushed the door and entered, you're awake. You're not feeling unwell anywhere, are you? Even if you usually feel uncomfortable, you must have recovered by now. After all, our director is the best healer in Country A. Zilong thought, no wonder he got so worked up. He must have thought some strange guy was extorting his niece. Chen Siluan said upon hearing this, my uncle is not that kind of person. He is very strict. Yeah, he's my mother's brother. Zilong pondered. I see. He's so nice to you. You must have a good relationship, right? I only fought because I was furious. Chen Siren asked in confusion. Started it? That's impossible. Why would my uncle pick a fight with you? He's your uncle. His body didn't hurt anymore. At this moment, Chen Siren came in and said, you're awake. What were you thinking just now? Did you really think you could beat him? He started it. After Jack snorted helplessly, the two of them drove off, chatting. Meanwhile, inside the lab, Zilong suddenly woke up and found that his wounds were gone. But that young kid is on par with you. Oh, come on. How can you say that? Strictly speaking, I'm stronger, in both age and ability. After all, that little brat left a scar on Jack Eska's face. Kids these days are terrifying. Oh, stop joking. Compared to my strength, he's still far behind. I studied there for 3 years. During that time, it seemed like no one could pass. Kang Jianhao glanced at Jack beside him and continued, but he probably won't have any problem. They should only be about 16 years old, Jack said as he got in the car. He said he's 18 and will enroll in Warriors High School this winter. Kang Jianhao pondered. Why does he talk about it like it's a sure thing he'll pass the exam? Is your face injured? Jack said somewhat speechlessly. What else could it be? It's really hard to believe. If it's a child preparing to enter school, didn't you say you were sparring with a little guy? Looks like there's more than one. Suddenly, Jiang Jianhao shouted loudly. It left Jack completely bewildered. He said in surprise, no one will even ask. It's only my fault. Jack said lightly. Some things just happened. Solving them took more time than expected. If you don't come for the work report again, you'll be late. Jiang Jianhao continued. Do you know? If you're late. After healing Zilong's injuries, Jack immediately left the institute. Suddenly, a voice was heard. Seriously, if there's something going on, just send a message. There are only 10 people nationwide who have reached the white rank, and Jack Asker is one of them. He is also the best healer in Country A. This man is not only the 7th ranked white rank adventurer in Country A, but also the best healer in Country A. This guy is called Lu Zilong. Chen Siren responded with confusion. Yes, Jack sighed. I see. I didn't expect to meet his son in a place like this, so no one dares to say anything. Jack spoke up and said not to worry about him. It's fine, I've already healed him. There won't be any after effects. These few moves. In the end, it still ended with me getting beat up, but Jack is not bad. Although he is notorious among the top soldiers for his picky personality, he has overwhelming strength. You probably would have won, but you used that clumsy staff technique again. What, is this your pride? Zilong smiled and said, because it's the only move I know. I only memorized. The moment their attacks collided, a violent explosion was heard. Even the two in the control room were stunned. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the smoke. He slowly said, if your final strike followed the usual move, that once he landed, there would definitely be an opening. He knew he wouldn't be able to dodge this guy's attack now, since there's no way to avoid it. I'll just face him head on, and swung the staff. In an instant, a shockwave burst out, followed by a loud clang. Jack dodged the attack midair. At that moment, Jack also realized, who did he learn this from? It's truly amazing. The moves they saw were secretly learned by Zilong from his father when he was young. Zilong unleashed all his strength, but Jack easily dodged them all. Chen Siluan noticed that Zilong's movements had become very simple and rough compared to before, but it felt a bit strange. At that moment, Zhang Meimin said the movements were fluid. There wasn't a single flaw. In an instant, he swung his stick and swiftly drew a wound across Jack's face. Zhang Meimin was taken aback. What's going on? Zilong swung the vertical pole again in quick succession. His swinging posture seems completely different from just now. Zilong slightly parted his lips and exhaled a breath of cold air. In the next second, he unleashed an incredible momentum and charged at Jack. Watching what was happening in the training room, Zhang Meimin murmured, this is insane. Why is the director doing this? But Chen Siluan noticed that Zilong's stance had changed from before. Whether it's the way he clenches his fist or his body's center of gravity, I was wrong. Then I'll make sure you lose with no complaints. Zilong knew his opponent was a monster far more capable than him, but this was the first true adventurer he'd encountered since growing up. The boy's blood inexplicably began to boil. However, Zilong didn't think his miraculous achievements were due to his own excellence. Instead, he believed that all the adventurers he had encountered so far were fakes inferior to him. Unlike the man in front of him, Jack exuded an astonishing aura and said, I see. No one taught Zilong since he was young. Everything had to start from scratch for him. However, his naturally exceptional abilities made up for his lack of education and basic training. Along with countless life-or-death experiences in actual combat, he improved his skills. You want me to praise you for being so persistent? It's already impressive that you've stuck with it until now. Zilong chuckled and said, how could that be? I'm just frustrated that I've always been beaten by you. In fact, there's a real reason. Jack said I don't know what you want to do. But it definitely won't matter. You know very well that no matter how many times you hit it, the result won't change. Are you hoping to gain my approval? There's no need to continue. Chen Siren also hurriedly said to Lu Zilong, can you hear me? The measurement is complete. Thank you for your hard work. Just come out now and wait for the results. At this moment in the control room, Zhang Meimin felt very strange. What's going on? Although his perseverance is truly remarkable, the data is already out. I'll show you the results of my efforts. Facing a monster whose abilities far exceeded his own, the boy not only felt no fear but became even more excited, because this was the first time since he grew up that he encountered a real adventurer. Do you dislike lazy people? This surprised Jack. He had clearly used a force that left him unable to get up again. Never mind the measurement values. Let's have another round. But you'd better let go of that thought. No matter how much a lazy person believes in their own abilities. Before Jack could finish, Zilong stood up and replied, although I don't know the real reason. You've been targeting me since just now. He would become much stronger. Chen Siren suddenly remembered that Zilong had said no one taught him before. Jack turned away in disappointment and left. I've seen too many people like you who possess abilities that others lack but are not motivated to improve. I will give you an assessment. Whether it's footwork, attack, or defense, it seems like he hasn't received any basic training at all. Honestly, I'm a bit disappointed by that. He's clearly so capable, even if he practiced just a little bit of the basics. But I'm very disappointed in how you lost. Suddenly, Jack and Zhang Meimin said in unison, because you completely lack the basics. Chen Siren looked confused. The basics? His ability and judgment are indeed outstanding, but the basic skills. Zhang Meimin murmured that the director really didn't hold back. I thought he would at least control his strength a bit. At this moment, Jack looked at Zilong and said, "Don't feel aggrieved just because you lost, because nothing you do can change this outcome." He spoke while throwing a series of punches. All of them landed directly on Zilong's body. With a final loud crash, Zilong was sent flying again. Seeing this, but Zilong gritted his teeth and held on. He swung the staff upward again. Jack said calmly, "At least this time you didn't lose your weapon. Although it should have been this way. That guy who can hold his own even against my uncle? Are there any weaknesses?" Suddenly, Zhang Meimin sighed. He has lost control. The powerful force almost knocked Zilong unconscious. He has a fatal weakness, but at least in this area, you surpass him. This left Chen Siren a bit confused. The part where I surpass him? This is practically a professional level sparring match. Did this kid really not get into any special schools? Chen Siren, beside her, could only laugh heartily, but he still has his shortcomings. Chen Siren was puzzled about the shortcomings. In an instant, multiple shockwaves shot toward Jack. But the next second, Jack quickly shattered all the attacks with his bare hands. Meanwhile, in the control room, Mei Min exclaimed, "What's going on? This tactic is quite common, but it's still far from enough." At this moment, Zilong chuckled and said, "Is that not enough? Then I'll get serious now." With that, Zilong suddenly thrust out with all his strength. The next second, Zilong suddenly came to an abrupt stop. In an instant, he unleashed 2 energy shockwaves. With a quick swipe, Jack easily dodged. He analyzed in his mind to keep his distance and control the situation. Lu Zilong replied indifferently, "Although I don't know the reason. It seems like you have something against me, but that doesn't matter." Jack wondered, is it another quick approach? Could it be the same move? Such an outrageous mistake. I'll tolerate it at most twice. If you do something stupid again, I'll get rid of you immediately. I'll make sure you can never dream of becoming an adventurer again. Or do you really believe this move will work? No matter how you think about it, this is not a wise choice. Jack hooked the stick on the ground with his foot and continued, "You let go of your weapon without losing consciousness." A violent explosion sound erupted instantly. Zilong clutched his stomach. He couldn't quite understand. At this moment, Jack continued, "Do you think it's not a real fight? So it doesn't matter if you get hit?" With a bang, Zilong's full-force strike was easily caught with one hand by Jack. This left Zilong feeling very astonished. Jack said, "You're more reckless than I imagined." Then he kicked Zilong in the stomach. Zilong's strategy is very simple. It is to concentrate all his strength to deliver a strike that cannot be avoided by the opponent. If the opponent dodges, he will take the opportunity to attack their weaknesses. Zilong gathered his strength in his legs, instantly unleashed all his power and charged forward, because he knew if he couldn't find an opening to attack, he would have to create one himself, and charged at the opponent. Check Chen Victory Group Research and Development Bureau Chief, Chen Saren's uncle. At the same time, he's the 7th-ranked white-tier adventurer in Country A. The refined-looking man in front of him is actually the 7th-ranked white-tier adventurer in Country A. Wasn't confident he could defeat his opponent. "Come at me. You don't need to worry about my safety." Zilong also took up an offensive stance, forcefully pushing off with his foot, but his body instinctively became alert. Jack was also a bit surprised. "It seems you've sensed something. Now I will take the place of the golem. You can attack with all your strength." This is also the first time Zilong, no matter how hard he observed, "Because I don't have that much time." This left Lu Zilong a bit confused. He didn't know what was going on. Looking at the person in front of him, Zilong didn't know who they were. In cases where it's difficult to push the tester to their limits, adventurers will sometimes spar with each other. Of course, this requires the sparring participants to be at least a few levels stronger than the tester. Jack, walking through the door, rolled up his sleeves and said, "Although this is sudden, I won't introduce myself." Zilong murmured, "What's going on? Could something really have gone wrong?" At this moment, a door opened in the distance. At the same time, a voice said, "Although this is an extremely rare situation, let me do it." Chen Siren and Zhang Weiming were both shocked. Jack turned around and said, "The golem in safe mode isn't strong enough anymore, right? Then I'll deal with it myself," he continued. "But failed the exam last year. Even the test data got lost. After all, the test fees weren't a small amount. So he wanted to help his friend with financial difficulties to enroll." Jack looked at the golem on the screen. At that moment, Jack was also distracted by the noise from the training room. "Is he your classmate?" When Chen Siren lowered his head, not knowing how to respond, Zheng Meimin suddenly spoke up from the side, saying that he was just a friend of Saren's who wanted to become an adventurer. He's clearly his uncle, but he's always been especially cold to Siluan since he was a child. Honestly, Siluan hasn't done anything wrong. These facilities are usually used on weekends anyway. Besides, other adventurers who know the staff from the Chen Shang group also use them regularly. This equipment belongs to your father, not to you. You can't take any responsibility for it. Zheng Meimin looked at Sen Siren, who was being scolded. I realized that the rumors about the director were true. At this moment, Jack also said, "I believe you dared to do this." He must have been prepared to be punished. Siren hurriedly stepped forward to plead, saying that it was her who asked him to help. "You asked him for help?" Siren, don't get it wrong. The person who arrived was Jack Esk, Chen Siluan's uncle. He is also the director of the R&D Bureau of the Chen Shang Group. You actually used the research equipment without reporting it first. Jiang Meimin lowered her head and mumbled, "He doesn't come on Sundays." Jiang Meimin also thought hard and said, "This is the first time I've encountered such a special case. Then the only remaining method is..." Suddenly, a voice came from behind them, "I'll pay you." It's not to make you anxious about this. For ordinary people who aren't professional adventurers, disabling safety mode is a serious crime, Chen Siren hurriedly said. But besides that, there's no other way to measure it. We should have increased the difficulty, but raising it by just 1 or 2 levels seems pointless. It seems we shouldn't have used safety mode. Instead, it should have been a 100% output skill match. But you know that, right? He's really amazing. In terms of judgment, he's even better than those professional adventurers. So what were his test results? That's a bit hard to say, because he hasn't reached his limit yet. No matter how much the difficulty is lowered, this is still training for those professional adventurer robots. Although he dodged a few times at the beginning, he quickly figured out the pattern. Once he found the right opportunity, he struck back decisively. "What's wrong? Didn't you say he was eliminated from the entrance exam of the special high school? That's why he went to a regular high school?" I was really curious, so I asked. With his strength, how could he possibly be eliminated? This guy's physical fitness can be considered professional level. It should be hard to reach the limit. But what happened yesterday must have exhausted a lot of his stamina. At this moment, Jiang Meimin exclaimed in surprise. Chen Siluan looked puzzled. They will wear special equipment to stimulate the child's body in various fields to determine their limits. Therefore, the longer the training, the harder it becomes to determine if they possess extraordinary abilities. This is because it is difficult to push them to their limits. Probably. Alright, let's start now. The next second, the golem, upon receiving the command, directly attacked Lu Zilong. The ability assessment is generally conducted when a child is 6 to 7 years old. In order to perform a detailed assessment, wasn't he supposed to be an ordinary candidate? It seems he made a lot of preparations to get into Warrior High. As soon as he said that, Chen Siluan felt a bit awkward. Yet with just one strike, it was taken out by Zilong. In the control room on the other side, Chen Siluan and the others are watching Lu Zilong. Jiang Meimin, a researcher from the Changsheng group, said, "Is he really that brave? Most people would be scared the first time they face a golem." I should have guessed, but it doesn't matter now. Since I've made the decision, I have to give it my all. I'm also curious about what my ability level will be. This robot in front of me is typically used for training by professional adventurers. Lu Zilong scratched his head and asked, "Do I need to take a physical exam?" "It was like that when you were younger, but you've already passed puberty. The testing procedures are more complicated now." Lu Zilong, wearing the testing suit, said that when he asked me how I was doing, would be regarded as a genius. Reaching level B or higher makes one a superhuman. Only by reaching level C in 5 conditions, excluding magic power, can one become an adventurer. If 3 of the conditions reach level B, you can apply for the Warrior Academy. Humans gain supernatural abilities. Before additional phenomena, the ability level of humans is D, excluding magic power, even just increasing by 1 level to C. Turning around, he sees Chen Siren waving at him, saying, "How are you feeling?" Lu Zilong replies, "So, I guess. But what are we doing here?" Chen Siren explains, "To assess your ability levels after the great change in the world. Starting now, you need to prepare for the entrance exam." The next morning, Lu Zilong arrives at the Special Defense Production Research Institute under Qin Shang Group. At that moment, a voice says, "You're already here, huh?" Muttering, "Seriously?" Chen Siren asked in confusion, "What did you say?" "So, you're agreeing?" Lu Zilong replied, "That's right. Are you free on Sunday?" The person on the other end of the phone simply responded, "Yes, because my company's production department is also manufacturing that kind of agent, so the amount you need isn't much for me." When Lu Zilong heard this, he breathed a sigh of relief. "Do you have any conditions?" "Although you'll only know after confirmation, but it shouldn't be a big problem." Lu Zilong was startled. He asked, "You can find it?" Then she happily answered the phone. A voice came from the other end, "It's so late. Am I disturbing you?" Chen Siluan said, "No, it's fine. I can accept your previous proposal." Lu Zilong, who just left the hospital, sits on a bench by the roadside, sighing helplessly. He takes out his phone and dials a number, tapping away. On the other side, Chen Siluan, seeing the call, was also a bit surprised. However, for the sake of the world's only patient. Those people will never give up their interests. Our hospital will make every possible effort. But if you don't have money or any special connections, he became furious. He slammed his palm on the table and said, "Can't we even buy enough to save one person's life? Because the dosage your father uses at once can make dozens of vials. If there are many patients in need, the government would issue corresponding regulations. Previously, its milk was just a material you could buy with money because it wasn't useful. But now, it's different. It has already been bought up by corporations and adventurers." When Lu Zilong heard this, but the doctor replied, "This isn't about money. I heard that a new potion has been circulating among adventurers lately. Even with a small dose, it can enhance strength and various resistances for a long time after injection. And the main ingredient of this potion is Sky Tiger's milk." Yes, but the problem is, the main ingredient for the painkillers is the milk of the Sky Tiger, a 5-star danger level creature. It's the only ingredient available now. Lu Zilong said, "I know the ingredient is rare, but no matter how much it costs, it's fine, because no one has survived after being poisoned by the dragon's venom. According to current medical technology, it's impossible to cure or improve. It can only be maintained with painkillers, right?" Even the doctor sighed helplessly. How could the illness strike so suddenly? The doctor and nurse exchanged glances. They didn't know how to respond. "The patient's condition is extremely rare. It can be said to be the only case in the world," she whispered, still making useless struggles. Meanwhile, at the Tisho University Hospital, Lu Zilong anxiously pushed open the ward door. He saw the doctor and nurse standing by the bedside. Lu Zilong hurriedly asked what was going on. "Sister, because in the end, you still have to take over the family business." As soon as those words were spoken, Chen Sairan clenched her teeth in anger. Watching Chen Sairan leave, Anisa's face instantly darkened. Chen Sailuan leaned in and said, "Whether there's a retake or not, it has nothing to do with me, because I've already passed. It seems you've worked really hard, but don't push yourself too much. Got it? There's no need to have two people with the same skills on one team. Even for your sake, it would burden the other teammates. But don't worry, there's still the retake." Scared, Anisa quickly waved her hand and said, "Oh no, this won't do. Even though I think the same way, both you and I have long-range output skills, and our skill levels are different. Why is everyone so unwilling to team up with you? With your skills, you totally could." Before Anissa could finish, Saren Chen replied, "Since you're so curious, why don't you team up with me yourself? You'll inevitably be compared to him. If it's just a comparison, that's fine. I'm just afraid that a single misstep will get me crushed by him. You must be careful." Anissa sighed, "I really can't understand it." Jack was somewhat surprised. It seemed that not only did he not look like a half-blood, but his ability to control magic was also far superior to some pure-blood elves. Jack said to Chen Siren, "Your cousin is a genius. If you want to continue down this path." From not far away, a voice could be heard. "That's right. Just like that." Chen Siren also looked toward the source of the voice. A young girl was effortlessly manipulating the surrounding magic. "It can be improved further. You need to focus. Don't get distracted, alright? That's it for today. You're slightly better than last time." The other, however, inherited little of the elven bloodline and is of mediocre talent. Thus, the two have always been at odds. And all of this began with the test 6 years ago. "Your output is too weak." Celine Chan was startled, because the person who came was none other than her cousin, Anissa. Both of them are half-elves, half-human. One perfectly inherited the bloodline of the elves, gaining powerful strength. After instructing Celine Chen on the next tasks, he left directly. After the teacher left, Celine Chen finally let out a sigh of relief. But just at that moment, a voice suddenly came over. The giant brain completely loses its life force. However, young Jonguk also lost his right hand due to the immense recoil of his ability. But fortunately, his right hand is a mechanical arm. Afterwards, they returned to the technical training base. The arm shattered into pieces, but the flames did not stop. Direct hit to the giant brain's head. Sparks crackle from the giant brain's head. Finally, it explodes with a bang. Jiang Zhenghua launched a fist attack with a cupped fist. With a loud bang, the momentary magic burst forth with flames. The giant's hands suddenly ignited, with several cracking sounds. As soon as this was said, Chen Siluan broke out in a cold sweat. Could it be that he smelled the thing Zilong took away? In the next second, the giant Yuan suddenly charged at Jiang Zhenghua. Just as the giant was about to strike him, the danger level was rated 4 to 5 stars. Jiang Zhenghua is puzzled. There's actually a giant Yuan here. He doesn't belong here. Was he attracted by something? Because when Chen Siluan returned, a giant several meters tall was following him. Sensing the danger, Chen Siluan turned around and was so shocked he couldn't speak. It was actually an adult-sized giant ape. In order to not expose information about Zilong, Chen Siluan nodded and pretended there was nothing unusual. But just then, Jiang Zhenghua suddenly said seriously to hide behind him. Jiang Zhenghua continued, I received a rescue request, saying there are some places where the exam couldn't continue. But fortunately, there were no casualties, and the place where you need to collect the gold coins is within that area. Did you encounter any problems during the exam? Did something happen? Jiang Zhenghua explained that due to some incidents, high-level monsters that don't belong here have appeared in certain parts of the dungeon. When Chen Siluan heard this, she was stunned. A voice suddenly woke him up. He looked up. It turned out to be her homeroom teacher, Jiang Zhenghua. Chen Siluan curiously asked the teacher, why are you here? Soon after, Chen Siluan finally returned to the underground city's firewall. But he wasn't happy. Recalling Zilong's words, I understood what you meant. So, you keep it up. Just when he thought Zilong probably wouldn't contact him. With your skills, as long as I have you, maybe I won't give up. Facing a rich woman's sponsorship, Zilong didn't agree immediately because they couldn't afford to offend Chen Siluan's cousin. But going on like this isn't a long-term solution. Even though I can still fight on my own for now, by the time I get to my second and third year, I definitely won't be able to keep up. So I want to hire you. The teachers knew about it but didn't say anything. After all, forming teams is also a student's skill, since I was isolated by everyone. Even though many students didn't join either of the two factions, they still didn't dare team up with Chen Siluan. He is exceptionally talented but very malicious. Although he doesn't show it, he revealed his true nature when he learned my talent wasn't as high as his. Then they started scheming behind my back, intentionally isolating me from everyone. Chen Siluan sighed. At Brave University, each grade has several factions. In our first year, there are 2 factions. One of them is led by 2 of the top 3 students in our grade. The leader of one faction is my cousin. Chen Siluan suddenly stopped him. He is willing to hire Zilong. He invites him to help at Warrior University. Zilong is confused as to why he doesn't ask his friends, but wants to find me. This man is so dedicated. He would protect the box in his hands even in death. The reason is that what he has in his hand can bring someone back to life. By coincidence, the royal jelly was found by Lu Zilong, just as Lu Zilong was about to take it back to report. So he didn't answer, because he didn't know whether to. His father needs a lot of money in the hospital. Compared to education, Zilong needs money more. Zilong, don't you want to become a student of the Brave Warriors Academy? Upon hearing this, Zilong was stunned. He thought he had discovered something. Seeing Lin Zaihuan was just a casual question. Lin Zaihuan turned his head to take a look. I agreed without much thought, because the rule for smugglers is that besides the entrusted items, any additional profits belong to the smuggler. Lin Zaihuan suddenly asked, Hey, Lu Zilong, are you okay? Hearing Lin Zaihuan calling out, Zilong finally snapped out of it. He stood up and asked Lin Zaihuan if he could give him the items in the 2 bags inside the box, and handed the royal jelly to Lin Zaihuan. Lin Zaihuan looked at the royal jelly in his hand and remarked that if it were sold on the market, it would definitely cause quite a stir. I'll transfer the money to you tomorrow. But Zilong has been struggling with whether to accept Shin Saran's proposal. Although they only enroll 1 or 2 students each year, with your strength, you could definitely get into Warrior Academy. After hearing this, Zilong did not immediately agree. Zilong returned to the abandoned garage. Zilong was also surprised, turned around and said, if you are interested in me, you should ask for your mobile phone number. Chen Siluan replied, I am not joking. There will be an entrance exam in winter. After shaking hands, the 2 parted ways. But Chen Siluan stayed where he was. He asked Zilong, can we meet again? Zilong asked Celine if she had finished the exam. After receiving an affirmative answer, Zilong extended his hand and said that despite everything that happened, they were fortunate that both of them successfully completed their tasks. Celine showed a long-lost smile. Zilong suggested they exit through the back door. Chen Siluan nodded. After 2.5 hours of traveling, they finally reached a safe zone. After confirming there was no danger nearby, the next second, Yang Daojuan's smile suddenly froze. A giant creature suddenly appeared in front of him. It opened its blood-red mouth and lunged at Yang Daojun. Seeing the scene ahead, I will find a way to take you down. Seeing that it was Yang Daojun, Zilong let out a sigh of relief. I thought it was some kind of monster, but just as Yang Daojun confidently thought he could escape. Coming to his senses, Zilong said to Chen Siluan, we need to leave quickly. If we stay longer, who knows what strange things might appear. So the 2 of them grabbed their stuff and immediately headed for the exit. But just at that moment, a voice suddenly came from behind. Wait for me. Too shocked to speak, a small crystal wrapped in a jar kept emitting a tempting aroma. seeing the royal jelly flowing everywhere. Zilong sighed, no wonder those creatures smelled it and came. Is there royal jelly in this bag too? Next, he opened it to check if the royal jelly was intact. To his surprise, just a small gap was opened. A strong fragrance suddenly wafted out. When Zilong completely opened the box, he was overwhelmed by the emitted fragrance. The man was holding royal jelly in his hands. Zilong quickly ran over to check the man's condition. Seeing that the man was still so dedicated before his death, Zilong knelt on one knee. He mourned silently for 2 seconds. Chen Siren suddenly smelled a sweet fragrance. He went inside to check, and the scent had already filled the entire floor. At this moment, Zilong was startled because he saw a man lying dead in the distance. After searching for several hours, the two of them finally found the exact location of the royal jelly. Seeing the dazzling golden light below, they hesitated for 2.5 minutes before deciding to go down and see what was happening inside. Just as they reached the bottom floor, but it has another effect as well. It can allow the person who consumes it to surpass their own abilities and limitations, but it must be consumed before adulthood to be effective. Therefore, wealthy people spend large sums to buy it for their children. So royal jelly is essentially priceless and unavailable. Zilong infused magic into his staff and once again launched a piercing attack toward young Daojun. With a tremendous noise, Zilong defeated his opponent. This is a jar of honey that can bring someone back from the dead. For Celine's rescue, Lu Zilong let out a chuckle. Yang Daojun, with red eyes, looked at Celine. He felt utterly incredulous. Taking advantage of Yang Daojun's moment of distraction, I feel like I'm done for. The next moment, a huge explosion sounded. It instantly woke Zilong from his daze. He looked back. It was Celine, returning after getting the gold coins. Yang Daojun laughed heartily and said, "You're really impressive. Come at me then." While Zilong was still thinking about which technique to use, his opponent was already right in front of him. In an instant, Zilong's pupils dilated. With a loud bang, Zilong escaped from the explosion. After taking the stamina recovery potion, Zilong's stamina soared. His body could now move freely as well. Seeing Zilong charging forward, he bit open the bottle cap and said, "Why are you praising me? What does this have to do with you?" In the face of Zilong's powerless sarcasm, Yang Daojun laughed maniacally. "After all, I'm about to take down someone as talented as you." In the next moment, he attacked Zilong. Yang Daojun said to the badly injured Zilong, "You actually blocked it. Your reaction speed isn't bad. You do have some skill. But why do you smuggle?" Zilong slowly took out the stamina recovery potion. His opponent wasn't as fast as he expected. Yang Daojun charged out from the smoke and attacked Zilong again. Although Zilong barely blocked the attack with his staff, his body still took significant damage. He said, "Can we do that? Although I don't understand much, it sounds extremely dangerous." Yang Daojun, fused with the vampire membrane, lunged at Lu Zilong with sharp claws. Zilong dodged backward. "This jacket is made from an entire living leech. Now I've already agreed. This guy can take all my blood. And the condition is to kill you." Zilong showed no fear. "I finally understand. The old man who spoke to me at graduation didn't give me advice. He offered me comfort. I wasn't chosen by the heavens. I was just a slightly above average existence among ordinary people looking up at them. I was the only one left, trembling all over, looking at the man in front of me. This man effortlessly killed the monster that annihilated our team. It was then that I finally felt what it was like to be looked down on. The look in his eyes was exactly the same as when I look at my classmates. At that time, I didn't take it seriously. He was just an adventurer who retired early to teach kids. Until this day. When I was adventuring in the dungeon, our party was wiped out by monsters. But on that day, an old man meaningfully told me, "You will become an excellent adventurer. But you must remember, don't be arrogant. Keep working hard. I'm one of the few geniuses chosen by the heavens. Every final exam, my scores are hundreds of points higher than the second place. Amidst others' admiration and praise, I graduated as the top student in the whole school. I could never be defeated. So I chose to attend another adventurer high school. During the test at Jianyan High School, I secured first place with my abilities. This proved that I'm different from ordinary people, but I am also admired by my peers. Yet even with my outstanding grades, I was still deemed unqualified in the entrance exam for universities that prioritize connections and family background. But when it comes to strength and talent, I would unhesitatingly teach them a lesson. And the person before me, who is trembling and begging for mercy, is a prime example. Under the gaze of my classmates, the man's pleas for mercy bring me great satisfaction. Not only do I excel academically and gain recognition from adults. At that moment, Yang Daojun took out a dagger. In the next second, he suddenly stabbed himself. Instantly, Yang Daojun's body underwent a bizarre transformation. I used to be a genius too. whenever someone acted arrogantly in front of me, but the effect is truly beyond imagination. You, as a professional adventurer, actually attack recklessly without distinguishing right from wrong. Give it up. No matter what you do, you have no chance of winning. With one swing of his staff, there was a loud bang as an explosion occurred. In the next moment, Zilong also spat out blood. Zilong wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He said he didn't expect to use it against humans in actual combat. Although he still couldn't perform it with his own power yet, he could only reflect the opponent's released power back exactly as it came. But that was enough to deal a fatal blow to the opponent. And this technique, which even Zilong hasn't fully mastered, is called tsunami. The more anxious Yang Daojun will become. The two attack each other, and their magic intertwines. A huge explosion happens in an instant. At this moment, Zilong decided to use the second technique he secretly learned as a child. But Zilong knew very well in his heart, the one who's anxious is the opponent. The opponent wants to take him down, then go after Chen Siluan to silence him. So the more time they delay. However, you don't seem to be as strong as I imagined. Struggling so much to deal with a defenseless high school student. Looks like you're just relying on your gear. If I had that kind of defense equipment. Yang Daojun was instantly driven mad by Lu Zilong's words. He looked at Lu Zilong and said, "For someone like you to last this long is already impressive." Lu Zilong sighed. "What kind of day is this, anyway? Throw away your clothes. Stand up and say, 'But I really like these clothes.' He can't possibly have no weaknesses. But if I counterattack without enough skill, I could die." Suddenly, Yang Daojun slashed across Zilong's abdomen. Yang Daojun laughed loudly, saying, "Got you. Ha, what's wrong with you? Fight back like you did just now." This jacket enhances the wearer's athletic ability by consuming their blood. It forms a protective artificial skin upon impact. What Yang Daojun is demonstrating is the essence of a berserker type. Zilong jumped back in response, taking the force off. Before Zilong could react, Yang Daojun attacked again. He swung his knife in quick succession. Zilong blocked the attack with his staff. "You are really quite rude, whether it's towards me or your own life." Yang Daojun kicked Lu Zilong away. Is it really that amazing? Of course, because equipment can make up half of an adventurer's combat power. Yang Daojun attacks Lu Zi while shouting, "Don't go," from the dragon's mouth. The gunshot rang out. Lin Jihuan, equipped, explained leisurely. Equipment refers to the armor or weapons that adventurers carry with them while hunting. Although this is a meaningless assumption, as long as he has equipment, he can also enhance his strength to some extent. Actually sounds kind of cute. From the moment he was discovered, it indicated a little scuffle happened in the dungeon. But at most, it's just a bit of quarreling without any equipment. The bald one was puzzled. Just say it was a monster attack at the time. No need to even prove an alibi. He's not at that level yet, but it should be about the same. Using violence against a teammate. Even comrades who fought side by side can be blinded by greed and turn their blades against each other. Bald guy, shocked. Are you saying they'd even kill each other? It's not impossible. After all, nothing's surprising in a dungeon. It's not that he's lacking in strength. It's just that the opponent was too strong. Adventurers often fight among themselves because as their levels increase, the stronger the adventurers, the fiercer the competition. What's the use of being this big? He still costs me so much money each year, and you still call yourself a former adventurer. Lin Jihuan advised. Don't blame him too much. The anxious bald client looked at Lin Zihuan. He asked him, "Do you need me to make you a box?" The bald man replied, "No need." He turned to look at Li Bigue lying on the ground. What a useless person. It won't take too long. This man is clearly a thorny adventurer, yet he got kicked in the face by a boy. In a fit of anger, he directly transformed into something else. At this moment, Lin Zihuan was leisurely eating instant noodles. But your skills are beyond the ordinary. A professional adventurer. It seems that to deal with that girl from the Warrior Academy, you'll have to get past him first. Don't be afraid. At this moment, a voice emerged from the smoke. I was a bit surprised. You don't seem that old. I didn't take you seriously. I didn't think I'd need to use this gear. He actually saw through his sword technique. Before he could think more, Lu Zilong kicked him square in the face. A loud bang suddenly erupted. Lu Zilong kept a vigilant gaze ahead, infused magic into it. Seizing the moment, swung the staff hard. With a loud clang, he knocked Yang Daojun back. Yang Daojun was stunned. You can only increase your chances of survival if you unite together. You're really a madman. Lu Zilong takes his stance. He grips the stick with both hands. You can only be safe. Then I can get the money. He actually left. That's not a wise choice. Yang Daojun attacks while mocking. Chen Siluan asked worriedly, "What about you?" At that moment, Yang Daojun lunged at Zilong. Lu Zilong quickly blocked the attack with his stick. He shouted to the side, "Stop standing there like an idiot. Run! You staying here won't help at all. I'll try to make it less painful for you." Lu Zilong said to Chen Siren, "I'll buy us some time. You go and find the gold coins. Once you find it, hurry and leave." That's when Zilong understood. The person in charge of the smuggling suddenly lost contact. It wasn't because they were poisoned by the hornet of 1,000 holes. It was because of this guy's tricks. Although you're doomed to die, how could everything go smoothly? Although I didn't manage to take his life completely, I'm sure he escaped here. He must have hidden something somewhere around here, but I just can't find it. Isn't that something to worry about only when you're caught? And I'm always lucky. I happened to overhear that a companion was smuggling valuable goods. Originally, my plan was to ambush him halfway, but you know how it is. Zilong quickly reminded the fool. He's not the normal adventurer you think he is. He's a bad guy who wants to kill us and steal the royal jelly. Have you considered the consequences of touching other people's stuff so carelessly? I jumped down from the second floor and said, "You're a student of Warriors High School." Chen Siluan cautiously replied, "So what? Although I don't know what your group is, you are really pitiful, because soon, you will die here." After handling it all, I felt too tired, so I took a break. But I'm quite surprised. You are really too young to be smugglers at your age. Seeing the Warriors High School emblem on Chen Siluan's chest all of a sudden, Chen Siluan was startled. Who is he trying to notify? Suddenly, a voice came from the second floor. "Of course, it's to notify me." Yang Daojun yawned and said it was because there was too much to deal with. Chen Siluan hurriedly asked if he was dead. Lu Zilong gasped and said no. I left him a breath. As long as someone comes in, it would emit a sound like an alarm. A monster immediately wrapped around Lu Zilong's stick. Lu Zilong was pulled up into the air. Zilong decisively abandoned the stick. He jumped onto the wall. Then he launched a horizontal attack at the monster below. He took out several monsters all by himself. He even left a giant man-eating crab as an alarm. When Lu Zilong and Chen Siren just entered, they were shocked by the monster remains all over the floor. Suddenly, a tongue several meters long attacked the two of them. As Lu Zilong's foot landed, the monster was left gasping for breath. It emitted a sound like an alarm. At this moment, someone on the second floor is watching them. How powerful is this man? As the monster exerted its force, Lu Zilong was accidentally pulled into the air. At this critical moment, Zilong decisively let go of the wooden stick in his hand. He jumped onto the wall. Then, he delivered a horizontal strike at the monster below. A giant man-eating crab. 2-star, level 3 threat. It suddenly extended its 100-meter-long tongue to attack Lu Zilong and his companion. Seeing this, Lu Zilong immediately picked up a stick and struck the tongue away. But unexpectedly, the tongue wrapped around the stick. The two of them arrived at the entrance of the old department store. But once they entered the old department store, shocked by the sight in front of them, they saw the ground littered with monster limbs. In the next second, a monster appeared not far away. Chen Siren was stunned when he heard that. This guy is really strange. It's really too strange. Lu Zilong didn't pay attention to the dazed Chen Siren. He just walked forward as if nothing happened. Chen Siluan was so angry he started trembling. He angrily said, "Don't you know how much it's worth? At most, it's worth just a little." Lu Zilong replied, "Of course I know. It can sell for over $1 million on the black market." He opened his hand to see it was a bottle of liquid. "This is an energy supplement drink. Drink it quickly to replenish your energy." But to everyone's surprise, Zilong immediately put the drink in his pocket. He even said he'd keep it to sell later. "I only learned a few moves on my own." Hearing Lu Zilong's answer, Chen Siren was speechless and frozen on the spot. Under Lu Zilong's puzzled gaze, he said, "He's really infuriating." Suddenly, Chen Siren threw something at him. In a split second, Zilong easily took down both of them. Lu Zilong was puzzled, as velociraptors usually move in groups of at least 5. It seemed that more people had been attacked because of the royal jelly. Chen Siren stepped forward and asked, "Did you receive private training when you were younger?" Lu Zilong turned his head and denied, "I just secretly watched others train a few times." After a brief discussion, the two decided to go together. The department store ruins were on their way. Suddenly, they ran into 2 velociraptors. Lu Zilong instantly sped up and charged at the velociraptors. He used the first move he learned from his father, thrusting sharply at the velociraptors. "Now, I've already collected one. I just need one more to pass." The location for his exam is at the old site of a department store. Lu Zilong was shocked when he heard department store, because the royal jelly Lu Zilong was looking for is also there. "And what do you want me to help you obtain?" "I need to collect gold coins." Chen Seren's exam task is to collect coins within the designated area. Find the box containing the coins, then personally verify his student identity. He had provoked someone potentially more dangerous than he had imagined. But now, there was no turning back. Zilong, putting away the photo, looked up and asked, "How much can you offer?" And now, there was no way to turn back. The young man had never received formal training as an adventurer, yet he could easily handle a giant yuan with a danger level of 3 stars. He had only watched a few of his father's action movies as a child. At that moment, Chen Siluan realized smugglers and accomplices face the same charges. You know this, right? It was from that moment on that Chen Siluan's intuition told him that he might have provoked someone far more dangerous than he had imagined. Come over here. Seeing Zilong grab his own shoulder, Chen Saren's face flushed red with embarrassment. What are you doing? Of course, we're taking a group photo instead of signing. Aren't you going to hire me? Since you've already seen my true self, I need to know your stuff too, to prevent you from changing your mind. It's not over yet. Zilong doesn't care whether it's possible or not. Just take out your student ID and show it to me. Chen Siren, are you really the same age as me? Watching Zilong put away his student ID, he was a bit confused. What's going on? Why are you showing me this? When he took a look at it, it read, Lu Zilong, a first-year student at Tongjiang High School. At that moment, his worldview completely collapsed. This is impossible. Chen Siren couldn't hold it anymore. To have such skills and a sense of timing, even if you're lying, there should be a limit. His whole life was stamped on his face by a document. Not only did I not attend some school like Adventurer Academy, I haven't even been anywhere near it. But who taught you your combat skills? The combat skills you're talking about, I taught myself. Listening to his nonsense, maybe I can help you. Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Zilong. I'm not attending the training class. You guessed wrong. It shouldn't be a fake, right? Chen Siluan asked. You must be short on money, right? I understand you. Even if you can't attend Warrior Academy, the tuition for those adventurer training classes is still a considerable amount. How could I be from your school? Hurry up and give me the stuff. The next second, the necklace appeared in front of him. While Zilong said, You rich second-generation kids. He examined the authenticity of the necklace. Today is a really unlucky day for Lu Zilong. He's having the worst luck ever. Chen Siren slowly approaches Lu Zilong. Are you a senior at our school? But Zilong denied that already. That thing's expensive. This amulet can disguise your real appearance. It can also change your voice. There are 4 types of magic infused in it, but now it's shattered. We're clearly about the same age. Upon hearing this, Zilong knew trouble was coming. Lin Jaehuan had warned him to be extremely careful, not to mess things up. With Zilong's final swing, a powerful attack slashed a wound at the monster's throat. The monster was taken care of with ease. Watching the boy's incredible performance and abilities, Chen Siren trembled and said, This is impossible. The students at Brave Warriors Academy have a familiar saying, when fighting monsters, destructive power is certainly important, but the timing of the attack and the intuition to exploit weaknesses are even more crucial. This is the quality that adventurers should possess. But in the next moment, Zilong still received the enchanted stick. Chen Siluan felt like he was going crazy. This was still less than 1/4 of that strike's power. But for Zilong, this was enough. Fight this monster barehanded. He can't hold out for much longer. Chen Siluan only has 1/4 of his magic left. This little power can't possibly hurt that monster. It would be better to escape while that guy is fighting. Then throw it to me. Chen Siren nervously said that he didn't have much magic left, but Zilong didn't care. Figure it out on your own if you have to. He was at a loss. I gave you a weapon, not for you to just stand there staring. Remember that arrow you just shot? Just do it the same way. Infuse magic into the tip of the stick. Looking at the charging giant, he said, there was no need to kill him initially, but now, we have no choice but to take him down. The giant's attack shattered the ground. Zilong took the opportunity to throw his staff to Chen Siren. It left him momentarily stunned. There are only a few seconds left. The girl gave a necklace worth billions to a stranger, just to hire him. Faced with the girl's financial temptation, Lu Zilong sighed quietly. I knew it would turn out this way. Alright, this is all your fault. It wasn't necessary to kill Wen Yan like this. Chen Siluan was a bit flustered. Haven't I already said that? Zilong thought the other party just had a little money, but unexpectedly, he was dealing with a crazy tycoon. Facing Zilong's complaints, he tried to stay calm. Whether I'm crazy or not doesn't matter. What matters is that there's an opportunity to completely change your fate. I caught 5. Someone like you can't afford this, but this is just a deposit. You help me pass the midterm exam, I'll pay you the remaining balance. Lu Zilong was really a bit annoyed. You really are something. But the next second, he was stunned. The other party pulled out Angel's blood. Chen Siluan did not respond. He just gazed at Zilong's back. He said slowly and calmly, the reward for reporting smugglers is 50 million. If caught, it's about 450 million. Zilong decided to let him go one more time. I don't want there to be a third time. And I don't want to find out how crazy the rich kids from Warriors High School can be. Don't come bother me again. Otherwise, I will never let you go. Do you think I'm a fool who can't read the room? Of course. I'm not just saying that. I know you're a smuggler. That's why I want to hire you. He glanced at the Warriors High School emblem on the man's clothes. Lu Zilong is getting really frustrated now. Hey, what exactly do you want? I just wanted to say thank you for saving me. And how could Zilong not know what he was thinking? Gazing at the empty space ahead, Chen Siluan felt a bit at a loss. Did I lose him? He was just here a moment ago. The next moment, he was knocked down by a sudden attack. Showing off might just bring trouble. By the time Lu Zilong realized it, he was already engulfed in flames. Chen Siluan kept following in his footsteps. In an instant, Lu Zilong quickened his pace. Don't let the adventurers notice. Don't engage or help the enemy team. To put it simply, we are cockroaches. You need to know that. The bounty for the smuggler is quite substantial. From here on, it's up to you. There's only a few seconds left. For smugglers, in the underground city, no matter what happens, they can incapacitate the opponent. However, their power is too strong, leading to many adventurers becoming blind due to improper use. So now, both production and use are illegal. I'll help you up to this point. The unprepared giant was blinded by the flash. Lu Zilong complained, this is the last super powerful flashlight. Props made from the scales of deep-sea fish. Although they are very cheap, Zilong shouted at him, who was in a daze. Hurry and close your eyes. As the distance continued to close in, Lu Zilong pressed the device in his hand. In an instant, a strong light illuminated the forest. Helpless, he could only take out the props he had prepared. He rushed down rapidly toward the giant. Seeing that the opponent was about to confront the giant head-on, Chen Siluan felt it was a bit unbelievable. Isn't he afraid of dying? A huge crashing sound suddenly echoed. Lu Zilong, passing by, struck the monster. But this blow surprised Zilong a bit. He clearly struck his chin with force, yet this monster showed no signs of damage whatsoever. He jumped before he even shot the arrow. He completely saw through his intentions. Before Chen Siluan could react, the giant creature charged at him like crazy. Just as it was about to catch up, giving it his all is his only chance to defeat this monster. However, nothing goes as expected. The opponent actually dodged. It didn't take the blow as anticipated. It was as if the opponent had extraordinary intelligence. He can break through their defenses. He can only have the chance to kill it. Chen Siluan is a magic archer. He can infuse magical power into his bow. The stronger the magic, the greater the power. Facing the giant Yuan's attacks, he can only keep dodging and looking for an opening. At this rate, no matter how many swords he uses, none will pierce through. Now, he can only make the opponent lower their guard. As long as he gets a little closer, it's impossible for a first-year college student to defeat it. But he still shot 3 arrows at the opponent. Unsurprisingly, they were all blocked. Judging by the injuries, the opponent's armor is far superior to an armored vehicle's. Chen Siluan is shaking with fear now. He knows that unless a miracle happens, there's no way he can survive. The danger index of the giant Yuan Sanqing is insurmountable for warriors like him. Collecting the gold coins placed in various dungeons within the designated area would complete the test. The area was supposed to be of the lowest difficulty, but now, the monsters inhabiting this place are far beyond expectations. These are not mindless creatures. Their intelligence is beyond imagination. She didn't inherit much of the elven bloodline. Even so, he kept striving and getting stronger. But now, he's on the brink of death. It was supposed to be just an ordinary midterm practical exam. But she didn't like this kind of life. She had a dream. She wanted to be an adventurer, to become a strong person, even though her parents were exceptional among humans and elves. Meanwhile, in another direction, first-year student Chen Siluan from the Warrior Academy was almost scared to death. He thought this was just an ordinary midterm exam. But now a monster as big as a mountain appeared before him. The girl had everything from the moment she was born. It's not just humans who want to get it. As soon as he landed, Lu Zilong smelled the scent spreading throughout the forest. This is really driving me crazy. These monsters will gather here after smelling it. Don't have any strange ideas. It's better to focus on doing your job. Do you think I would run away with that? No, I know you're not that foolish. It's just that thing is very valuable. The thief's subordinates transported the goods near the street location. But contact was lost when they reached the street. It doesn't seem like they ran away. It should be an injury or an accident. Your task is to confirm if there's something at the scene and bring it back. One is fused with the Blazing Flame mountain range. The other is merged with the Akar forest. They are destined to go to that region. To this day, it still hasn't been breached. It has become a graveyard for many adventurers. Dad would never give up hope. Since the emergence of the additional phenomena, there have been many dungeons on Earth. Among them, 2 are the largest in the country. None of your business. It's probably just an exaggerated metaphor. Even if that's a miracle cure, it can't possibly cure Dad's poison. If there were really a way. I was wondering why you weren't listening to me properly. So it's because of that thing, huh? The medicine that brings people back from the dead. That's what you're concerned about, right? Lu Zilong said, somewhat impatiently. Like I said before, be careful. You must come back alive. This time, it's more difficult. Lin Jaehuan turned his head and realized something was wrong with Lu Zilong. But there are always exceptions. For smugglers, there are always unusual routes. Through these secret paths, they can reach many magic mirrors. How could a simple nutrient make someone of the white rank seek out smugglers? The royal jelly of the thousand-hole wasp has only appeared a few times. It's said that if a human consumes it, they could be brought back to life. The roads leading to the dungeons are usually strictly controlled. That's the position of the Adventurers Guild and the authorities. They did manage to capture one of the 7 members of the Queen's Guards. They stole the royal jelly of the thousand-hole hornet. This allowed the subordinates in the attack squad to smuggle it out. Royal jelly is the nutrient fed to newborn queen bees. Lu Zilong couldn't understand. The nation supported the military. It also assembled an attack squad of 7 adventurers of white rank. You could say this was Country A's all-star battle. Normally, just having 2 of them would garner a lot of attention. Although the original extermination mission failed, even top-tier adventurers struggle against just 1, let alone a whole swarm of bees. But what if it's the strongest white-rank adventurer? Lin Jaehuan revealed that there was a large-scale undisclosed hunt yesterday. The lead terror wasp is rated as the most dangerous monster in the world. Lu Zilong thought this meant he had to duel with them. After all, relying on just the lead wasp species to make Lao by the most difficult mirror in Country A. Lin Jaehuan knows too. Zilong has always believed that his father's poison oath can be resolved. He just hasn't found the right method. Just now, Lin Zaihuan told him that this mission is related to the lead terror wasp. It's to earn money to save his sick father. His father was once a hero who saved the world. In decades of battle, he was poisoned by a powerful being from another realm with no antidote. He was even betrayed by his former companions, and his strength has been slowly fading, accompanied by the torment of illness. It wasn't just an illusion. Maybe he saw my dad use it. Is there really a miraculous medicine in the world that can bring people back to life? The boy sneaks into the dangerous underground city every day. It's not that he doesn't extinguish it. Li Bigui trembled and asked, "Where did you learn your staff technique?" "I never learned any staff technique, though I don't know what you're thinking, but it must be your imagination." However, Zilong was certain. Blood gushed out of Li Bigui's mouth. Lin Zaihuan had an expression of expectation. Meanwhile, the client looked utterly bewildered. On the field, only the victorious Lu Zilong remained. Looking up at the towering Lu Zilong, that is their natural enemy. Both of them attacked each other at an extremely fast speed. With powerful attack damage output, they can perfectly break through the defensive wall. As Lu Zilong swung his stick down, people often regard tanks as invincible. Lin Zaihuan knew it was over when he saw Zilong pick up the stick. Tanks are not invincible. They have a fatal weakness. As long as there is someone who can attack a point powerfully, Li Bigui says nothing more, and charges at Zilong, who's still eyeing the iron rod. He unleashed all his strength, wanting to decide the outcome with one strike. Because of their outstanding endurance, that your little tricks don't work on me. That would have been fine, but there's no need for that now. Lu Zilong sizes up the iron rod. This should be enough. Then he told Zilong to hurry up and finish it. If this place gets damaged any further, I'll dock your pay. Li Bigui laughed upon hearing this. Your boss still doesn't get the situation. Why didn't you tell him? Lin Zaihuan put down the client. This guy's pretty good, huh? The physical destructive power is probably on the level of a truck. If he'd hit me just now, I'd have been smashed to pieces. But every move was dodged. What's wrong? Why aren't you pulling those little tricks like before? Lu Zilong said calmly, I'm no fool. I know there's a trap, so why would I walk into it? Seeing this situation, otherwise, will suffer a huge loss. Speaking of which, that guy really is a scumbag. He actually made a mess of someone else's workplace. Li Bigui kept launching attacks. Li Bai unleashed an enormous force from his whole body. Zilong leapt high into the air, easily dodging it. Lin Zaihuan also grabbed the client beside him. You can't get hurt. He holds the unique title of Dragon Slayer. He was the strongest adventurer in Asia. He is someone I have always looked up to and sought to surpass. At this moment, Lu Zilong discovered a huge joke. A silver-ranked adventurer needs to understand what true power really is. Lu Zilong was a bit dazed. Is this what a true adventurer looks like? He is my father. His name is Lu Chang, a hero known as the first-generation adventurer. But because everyone has a different constitution, the powers they awaken are completely different. They can find their suitable roles through training. And Li Baiguei is a tank. After extreme physical training, he becomes impervious to blades and bullets. Even so, you are just a smuggler. Let's give you a little eye-opener now. After the Great Disaster, people can awaken new abilities by pushing beyond their limits. With his own strength, he knows he can't win. I'm not going to make a move anymore. Who would have thought Li Baiguei would just rip off his clothes, revealing his muscular build? These are just little tricks, but his reaction speed is incredible. That punch to his chin clearly reached the level of a professional adventurer. You can't underestimate him. He understands the gap between himself and Lu Zilong. Lu Zilong continued to mock. I thought someone with your looks would be formidable. Li Baiguei was quite flustered. I didn't expect to be beaten up by this kid like this. I thought he was just a smuggler. One kick out. Li Baiguei was caught a bit off guard. Didn't I say it? There's nothing to worry about at all. I found you the strongest person. But he also likes to make reckless sneak attacks. His words drove Li Baiguei into a frenzy. He charged forward like a madman. Lu Zilong casually swept out a kick. Then I'll warm up a bit too. Before he could finish his sentence, Li Baiguei's fist was already coming at him. A massive force rushed toward Lu Zilong. The next moment, Li Baiguei was stunned. Not only is he trash, I'm just cleaning up some trash. Lu Zilong laughed. So this is what cleaning up trash means. Looks like you know you're trash. That's why you caused trouble and got suspended on purpose, right? Responded calmly. Assaulted a teammate? Impressive. So, you're a criminal after all. That useless guy only drags me down. He's got a bad temper. He didn't retire because of an injury. It was because he assaulted a teammate. Just wait. You'll pay for this. Upon hearing this, Lu Zilong. However, the bald guy next to him seemed a bit anxious. Aren't you going to step in and stop them? Lim Jaehuan teased. What? Getting scared now? The man nervously replied. Lin Zaihuan was already used to it. This is bad. I'm not the kind of person to ask for help. It looked like the two were about to fight. But Lin Jaehuan wasn't worried at all. The big guy was enraged by Zilong's words. Boss, you don't need to waste your breath with him. Let me break his arms and legs. Then he'll know where he went wrong. Seeing this situation, he keeps rambling on and on. Lu Zilong is getting annoyed. Calling that big guy an adventurer? No, he used to be an adventurer. No wonder you're so pretentious. Do you think I'm an idiot? I'm not here to do charity. Get this young punk out of here immediately. Find someone decent, or I'll cripple both of you. His boss is a middleman, constantly operating in gray areas. And this time, the client was clearly dissatisfied with Lu Zilong. Are you joking? Didn't you say you'd find me the best person? In the end, he was left with nothing but a shell forgotten by the world. I have also taken on the heavy responsibility of caring for my father. To cover my father's high medical expenses each month, I developed a habit of attending classes during the day, a habit of entering the dungeon at night. He spent his whole life fighting for the future of humanity. But because of this, the body has accumulated countless injuries and illnesses over decades of fighting. He was even betrayed by former companions, who took away his property and achievements. He didn't want to work either. Helpless, he couldn't afford the high medical fees, so he developed a habit of attending classes during the day and going into the underground city at night. My father was once a hero who saved the world. Many students take pride in being admitted there, even though studying there are more popular with girls. As for Lu Zilong, he's just an ordinary student. To take care of his sick father, he had to push aside all activities to work. In this era, nations have established institutions to train adventurers, and the most famous institution in Country A has trained countless high-level adventurers over the decades. That is Hero Academy. Among them, the outstanding individuals have learned to harness their potential through training. After a long period of adjustment, humans formed elite adventurers to reclaim the dungeons. Thus began the war between the dungeons and human adventurers. They surpassed the limits of the human body. The tide of war was also reversed. Humans can also defeat creatures from another world by relying on their own strength, and this phenomenon applies to all humans. However, the extent of each person's abilities varies. It also brought opportunities for humans to break their physical limits. With the power to transcend those limits, humanity gained the ability to fight monsters. Through constant battles and evolution, some people completely broke free of their shackles, but all firearms have no effect on them. No army is a match for them. Until a miracle happened. It gave humanity the power to fight back. What came from another world wasn't just disaster. Various bizarre life forms also arrived on Earth. Human civilization is being rapidly eroded. We can only watch as they slaughter recklessly. The areas occupied by these monsters are called underground cities. Humans once tried to eliminate them. Due to an accident that occurred there, the entire planet began to collapse. Countless planet fragments flew toward Earth, resulting in an astonishing fusion with the planet. Earth's natural laws became distorted. The world changed without warning. countless powerful beings appeared. From then on, human society began to change. Scientists have discovered through research that there is a planet in the universe similar to Earth. Have you ever seen high school students who need military escorts? Their status is even higher than that of the military. It's because they are prospective adventurers. They have the opportunity to become the backbone of the nation. Decades ago,